Hey there, friends and enemies. JoPaWrites here once again with another episode of the Writer's Thoughts. This time we have a very awesome guest. I'm super excited to have Kage on. She has been a friend of mine for a while on the gaming side of things, and I'm just so excited to kind of pick her brain about so many topics tonight. I can't wait. I hope you enjoy. Kage, how's it going? How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Jopa. I'm doing really well today. Just another week and just picking up a bunch of new things, especially I know this week a lot of new animes have been coming out. And I'm super excited to get watching on them because let's see, I've been watching anime for years now,
Yeah,
but I'm super excited. That's what I'm focusing on this week on my long weekend.
nice.
So, how about you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We are very similar in that we play a lot of similar games and we play a variety. We also watch a wide range of kind of nerdy, geeky type things, whether it's movies, TV shows, anime. We're gonna hop into that a lot today. So, yeah, I'm super excited. So first off, start off by telling everybody what you do as far as content creation, where they can find you on social media, all that kind of good stuff.
So, as you guys know, as Jopa said, I'm Kage. KageNoTsuma is my full, I guess, gamer name. That's what I go by. A lot of people call me Cage. I'm a Twitch streamer.
I almost introduced you as Cage or Kate today, but I decided I would hold off on that.
Oh my god, I would have rolled. I would have left immediately. But I am a Twitch streamer. I don't stream regularly because I'm right now life is a little busy, as is for everybody. But I do support regularly, and I also hop in a lot of games with many friends and streamers alike. And on the side, I do commissions for streamers, doing emotes, sometimes overlays, and things like that. And that's what I spend my free time doing, besides playing games and watching anime and hanging out with the fam as always.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we've known each other for quite some time, but I feel like we just got real tight relatively recently.
Yeah.
As far and we started gaming together, which is awesome, and that's why I figured it'd be perfect to have you on. We could talk about things a little bit more in depth instead of just roasting each other over video games for like we normally do. So I think that's how the crew normally does things. They're just ribbing each other quite a bit, and I enjoy it. But yeah, you mentioned anime and new anime coming out soon, and that's something that I've always been interested in on a more
Mm-hmm.
casual level. I've not been a hardcore anime watcher, but I've started to kind of get the ball rolling on that a lot more, and I've been reaching out to folks about
Mm-hmm.
the new stuff, what's coming out, what I should be watching, because I back in the day I watched Dragon Ball Z, I've watched Naruto, which some of your more mainstream ones.
Mm-hmm.
I also like some of the Netflix animes. You got Blood of Zeus came out recently, which was
Oh my
if you
gosh.
haven't seen it, it's really good. Uh, the wife and I enjoy the Dragon Prince, uh, which is another one which is not full anime. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fun.
And
I've
it's animated, it's good.
Yeah, and I've watched one of the series that messed me up and almost scarred me from anime was
Tell
Berserk.
me. Berserk is
The
insane. Let
first
me
two
tell you.
movies were
Oh
great,
my
and then
god.
it went far left. Like it threw me off so much. What?
It's just so unexpected.
Yeah,
And it definitely messed I don't want to give away spoilers and all that, but it definitely it scars you, and the sights and the events that happen in Berserk definitely will leave you scarred, pained, and in tears. At least for me, because I cry very easily
yeah,
at emotional events or things like that, or just heart wrenching things. It's just, and it's pretty gory too. So at
yeah.
the
The
same time, you get a little bit of of both sides.
yeah the gory stuff doesn't bother me. Like I watched the Castlevania show or
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix as well. Netflix is kind of my go-to because when they pop up on my recommended, it's easy for me to just
Mm-hmm.
click on them and check them out. But what are some
Yeah.
that you've been into lately, or you're really looking forward to diving into, like you said this weekend?
So I most of the anime that I watch are on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
And I know that there's a lot of new animes that I really wanted to watch also on Funimation. So recently I actually just subscribed to Funimation as well. And
Nice.
that's one thing that I kind of like have a gripe with is that they kind of split the two different studios. They used to be one studio together or like
Uh
one company together where Funimation and Crunchyroll would both stream like the same animes, but they split a couple years back. Um so I missed out on a couple of like really good shows that I really liked, but now I picked up Funimation and that's what I'll be also filling in some of my weekly or my daily animes.
Gotcha.
Um, but this week, I know that I've been really so Jujutsu Kaisen is a really big anime that came out that I highly recommend. It's really high action, and the kind of the backstory to it is that this young high schooler boy is in a world where curses and like demons exist, and he kind of merges with the demon and he has to go and kill other demons as a sorcerer jutsu user. Super high action, and I really highly recommend it. It's one of the top animes actually. It's 14 episodes in right now, and a lot of people really liked it. I read the manga for it as well, and it's really good. Animation is beautiful, and it also is pretty emotional. If I have to say,
Gotcha. Yeah, that's one I've actually
yeah.
heard a lot about, and it's. I think. I think we're gonna have to snag Crunchyroll myself for the house whenever we get like some free time. Maybe the next time I take
Mm-hmm.
a little staycation, just because I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
there's a lot of things I've missed out on. There are a lot of mainstream
Mm-hmm.
ones that I've watched, like I've said, and they're good, but I feel like they're not as like they're a little cheesy at times, and I feel like that's just
Yeah.
how it's going to be. Whereas when like that's been the beauty of watching the Netflix ones, like I said, Blood of Zeus and
Mm-hmm.
Castlevania are gory. Berserk is on Netflix and it is gory and kind of insane. And there's some other ones on there as well that I think people should definitely check out. But what what's your favorite anime of all time?
Oh my god. Oh man, that's a really hard one.
Okay,
One that I really. All right, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say if you can't narrow it down to just one, you can give me a top three.
All right, top three. I would say for me right now, Demon Slayer. I know it's like really, that's really mainstream, but that's one of my top animes right now for me because of how beautiful that anime is.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's high action. It has a lot of bonds between different characters, and the character development in my opinion is very good. um the story overall is amazing, but top tier animation. The colors are vivid, the scenes where there's high action are still so smooth, and it's so good, and the manga is also so good. So I the manga is complete for that. So right now I'm kind of watching to see the differences
Yeah,
in the show to the manga, and it is on point. Everything matches like fantastic. So I give that like for me Demon Slayer is me like 9.5 out of 10.
nice.
Um my next favorite is one from last season. It's called Tonikawa Fly Me to the Moon. It's a silly romance anime, but for me I really enjoyed it because it focuses on like the daily life of a married couple,
Okay.
and it's a very healthy relationship. The wife is not all that she seems to be. She seems to be like another world person, but the husband is a very like nerdy, geeky gamer tech guy who who's pretty chill, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I really like animes that focus on it but don't romanticize everything and making everything seem like it's a perfect
Yeah.
relationship or things like that. And so I really enjoyed Tonikawa Fly Me to the Moon, which is also on Crunchyroll, because it when I watch it, I think of my husband and I, and I'm like, oh my god, that's how we are. We're so
Yeah.
cute. But when they kind of like get down into arguments, they're like, that also reminds me of myself, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not everything is perfect, and there are hardships, whether they be life wise, where something happens to the home or something happens to a family member. Um, and life isn't perfect, and you just have to pick up and keep working on it and keep working on life together as a unit, and
Yeah.
not just as separate people.
No, I agree with that completely. And it's funny how I feel like a lot of times your favorites in whether it's anime, games, no matter what it is, it's something you can relate to in some way, or
Yeah.
there's some trigger that gets you. Like for me, the the animes that I really like, the games that I really like, are ones that have those peak moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Naruto when uh he's someone like the grand entrances in that anime are some of my favorite in all of like entertainment. When he pops up, or when Might Guy pops up out of nowhere to
Yeah.
like be a badass, that's what I love. That's where I get hyped, and I
Yeah.
love anytime an anime, a movie, a show has moments like that just get you like
Mm-hmm.
out of your seat almost to watch, and you want to kind of jump through the screen almost. And that's those are the types that I want to see 9 times out of 10, because I get so hyped, and video games do the same thing for me. It's crazy.
Definitely. Yeah, like just talking about Naruto just reminds, like, how far into Naruto have you
I've watched
finished
all
the
of it. Yeah,
entire.
I finished the whole thing.
Okay, yeah. Especially like towards the end of Shippuden. I was So again, I read a lot of manga as well as the anime,
Yeah,
so of course I already knew what was gonna happen, but to see it animated
yeah,
in action, I was like on the edge of my seat, and when all the stuff went down, I was like standing, I'm like, oh my god, get him.
yeah,
And I really love that
yeah.
about a lot of games and animes alike.
My wife kind of she thinks I'm weird because when we're watching TV, we'll be on the couch, and then the good parts are starting to happen, and all of a sudden I'm standing up
Mm-hmm.
in front of the TV, like out of her way, but I'm ready to go, and I almost need to like shadow box while I'm watching it just to get myself kind of going.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I think,
I'm like that.
yeah, I think it's something that finding whatever the passion is, finding those things that you can really get you hyped or get you relating to, so important. What other? So give me some other animes that you think like along the same lines that you would recommend for whether it's somebody who's going from the more mainstream ones to a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
hardcore or something like that. Like, what are the ones that would be the next step to get you hyped about anime? Because like not only myself, but I'm trying to get my wife into it a little bit more because she
Mm-hmm.
enjoys them, but not to the level I do at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get her a little bit more into them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I got you. So, one that I really recommend because it's still kind of mainstream, but it's also different than a lot of what they call like isekai animes, which is where a person gets teleported to like a different world
Yeah.
and they have to like they're like in a game essentially. So, one that I really recommend is it's called Rising of the Shield Hero.
Okay.
Um it I don't want to give away spoilers, but the main character of that anime gets transported into another world. He gets summoned into another world alongside three other guys, and these are supposed to be the heroes of this world, and they have to fight to protect the kingdom, and they're trying to get back home. But the main character kind of has other plans
Okay.
in the way that he's going to go about it and how he does it because of how other people treat him.
Got it.
And it's kind of evil in a sense, and this anime can be a little twisted, and it can be kind of cruel at the same time, but it's very high action, and the way that they treat the characters, it feels so. I get angry for the main character,
Ah,
like I can feel the anger and the
yeah.
pain, and I'm like, dang, I want to hit the person who's doing this guy dirty, type
Yeah.
of situation. um I highly recommend that.
Okay.
That's on Crunchyroll. I'm telling you, all the good animes that I've watched usually are either on Crunchyroll or Funimation.
Gotcha.
Some of them are coming up on Netflix, like The Promised Neverland. I'm not sure if that came up in your recommended for Netflix, but that anime is so freaking good. It's amazing. And they just recently started the second season this week as well, which is another one of the animes I'm trying to get into this week. Um, I highly recommend Promise Neverland for those who are on Netflix. It's about kids who live in an adoption home in an orphanage, but things again are not as they seem, and so they have to kind of plot their life to along with their friends to kind of survive and live the life that they need to live. And it can be kind of cruel and unusual, but the first episode will definitely leave your jaw dropping for sure. I really wish I could just say what it is because I love it so much and I wish that I could explain it.
Yeah.
But definitely watch it and let me know what you think. Even like just watching the first episode.
Okay.
And kind of let me know your thoughts on it for sure. Because 10 out of 10, that one's a really good anime. And I'm super hyped to see the second season and how they're gonna kind of, what's it called? I want to see how they will progress it because I feel like they might end up cutting some key points.
Gotcha.
From in between the manga and the anime.
Yeah, I'm a big Game of Thrones person, and that's unfortunately what happened in that show. And I feel like that's the difficulty. And this will kind of lead into our next topic, which is the not only. So I was just thinking this. So Marvel and DC to a lesser extent, but they're the big dogs when it comes to movies translated from comics. But I'm very interested to see what if we get some live action anime or anime type shows like Avatar and those kind of things have been terrible for the most part.
Oh my God.
Games translated to movies have been terrible for the most part. We've got the Monster Hunter movie that came out, which was widely panned. We've got a lot of things. And now we have a Mortal Kombat movie upcoming. We've got Uncharted movie upcoming. But I want to see if we'll get, just like with the MCU breaking that trend, if we'll get anime maybe live action or video game live actions that break that trend and become like good. Like I don't understand what's stopping. Like you have to tell a different story instead of, because like going back to Naruto, there's 900 episodes or whatever of Shippuden.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's insane. You can't cover all of that. But like they've been so bad, and I wonder why we've had all these movies from video games, from anime, from general nerdy culture that have just been fails time after time. And if we'll see one day improvement in that area, you know?
Yeah. So for me, the one that always sticks out to me in terms of at least like animation or like cartoon to live action, the one that always comes to my mind is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah. And good Lord, was that a pile of hot garbage.
Yeah.
Especially like right now, I know Avatar: The Last Airbender became super mainstream again because it was on Netflix. They had put it on Netflix, and so a lot of people started watching that. And then they go back and watch a live action, and they're like, "What the heck is this?
Yeah.
Why is it so bad?" And for me, I think the reason why a lot of these gaming anime or like the gaming movies that are coming from games or from cartoons or animation is because the producers and the directors are trying to focus on bringing it to a wider audience, that they feel that they need to change a lot of different aspects of what originally was there to cater to a wider audience. But when they do that, they're changing so much that it makes it bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that's exactly what happened with like you look at the Resident Evil movies, and then to the Monster Hunter and the Assassin's Creed movie. A lot of these, I think Avatar was the perfect example of that. They just they take away the heart of what makes these other forms of entertainment special sometimes, and we've seen it with The Witcher on Netflix. That is such a good show that I,
So
I
good.
I highly recommend to everybody because I really enjoyed it, and it felt like you were in that world, like playing the game. Which I've only played The Witcher 3 of the series, but playing the
Hmm.
game and then watching it, like they felt like they live in the same universe, right? They felt
Yeah.
they had the same passion with them, and it's hard to explain, but I do agree with it. Too many times they try to dumb it down and mainstream it to the point of anybody can watch that, when really what you want to do is reverse that. You want to give the people who already enjoy those franchises teases and feelings that they get from those other mediums, from anime, from gaming, but also maybe broaden it a little bit. But I think
Yeah.
you want to draw people from who don't normally enjoy that type of medium into it, instead of making it for those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like you said, The Witcher, for example, right? I had not played any of the games and I had not read any of the books. But because a lot of the people who played the games and read the books watched the show and loved the show, I was able to sit down, watch it, and I enjoyed the heck out of that show. And it made me want to play the games and it made me want to read the books. So if more producers and directors can come up with movies that follow kind of that same path, where, like you said, they focus and cater towards the communities that are already established, those people will go out and give great reviews about these shows and not trash the shows to oblivion because it's a bad show or a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, but I really enjoyed The Witcher. I was able to sit down, going in blind, like I literally knew nothing about it. But I felt like I was there and the action was so good, and I felt like you said, it's like I was very immersed. Like I sat down and I watched the entire season in a whole night. I like binge watched the
Yeah.
heck out of that show and I loved it.
No.
But I feel like, yeah.
I'm with you 100%. I think, and it happened to, like, the Witcher sales spiked for the
Mm-hmm.
games after the TV show came out, and that's where this collaborative media can be so good potentially. Like, I
Yeah.
picture a live action Destiny game, for example, or an animated Overwatch TV show. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
potential for crossover mediums that is untapped, and that's something that I hope we get more of, and they do it in a way that's like the people who love those franchises will love the TV show or the movie or whatever the case may be, you know?
Mm-hmm. That kind of reminds me, so growing up I played a lot of League of Legends.
Yeah.
I still play occasionally, but Riot Game Studio is really big and they're coming up with a bunch of different games right now, like Legends of Runeterra, which is supposed to go against Hearthstone, Valorant, which goes against CS:GO, and Overwatch. And they're even working on an MMORPG right now.
Yeah.
They right now are working on an animated series based off of the world of League of Legends. And yeah, it's still made by the same studio, but I really want to see games that movies and shows that expand on the world around games, like you said, like a Destiny game or a game that kind of goes off of Overwatch, because there's a lot of lore behind
Yeah.
the characters in these games, and a lot of backstory can be built off of that, and I feel like that would be great media collaboration. And I would really like to see shows like that and movies like that, as long as they don't really try to make it more mainstream and ruin the concept of the game and how it's actually supposed to be played out, you know?
Yeah. No, that's it. They got to stay true to the original creator's vision, because that's what made them successful in the first place. And too often, I feel like you said, they're just not they're not connected to the rest of the franchise, and it's a shame. It's something that I hope they're able to find. So if you could pick, let's go top three again. Pick three games that would get, whether it's a show or a movie, pick your top three and let me know what type of medium they would be in. Like whether it be a show, animated show, TV, uh, movie, etc.
Okay, that's a really hard one because right now I play a lot of like first person shooters that don't have like a huge story.
Sure.
But um so one game that you had already mentioned, Destiny 2, I feel like they could make such a good movie out of that game because people like space, people like sci-fi. Star Wars, Star Trek, things like that. Take that and then you've got the high action and like the different classes as well as the different races in Destiny 2. That would be such a good game. I mean, movie or a show.
Yeah.
And especially with the major characters and like the vendors as there are in the game, movies that or shows that focus around the life of like Ikora, how she came to be the way that she is, how she lost her light. Um, like Zavala, Shax, like having all those major players in a movie like that would be so fun to watch, in my opinion. Because even now, playing the game and you have the storyline already, as you playing in the game, it's already super immersive, and I can only imagine how it would be watching like another main character go through a different part of Destiny, maybe like during the Golden Age,
Yeah.
and then heading into Destiny 1 type of situation.
What one that would be mine actually. That'd be my first choice. Is a Destiny, whether it's a movie or TV show. I would say a movie would be great, but mine would focus on Osiris when he first leaves,
Yes.
interacting with Ikora and all his disciples. He's got his little cult that's following him. But then you've got him traveling and exploring the Vex networks and alternate realities potentially. But like starting off probably on a smaller adventure with the first kind of movie, and then if it becomes more than that, then expanding. But I feel like that'd be the perfect. It's an established, well beloved character, and I feel like something like that would be perfect. Or the rise, or Shax when he's a warlord.
Oh my gosh.
That would be insane. Either of those two would be my top two choices. But what's your second?
I think my second would be So right now I play a lot of Hades as well. I know it's not the same, but in terms of like it has like a big story, like a big campaign. But Hades for me is I love Greek mythology in general. So anything revolving around Greek mythology, I'm like, oh, I'm hopping on that train. But the way that the game Hades works is that it's Hades' son, Zagreus, trying to escape from the underworld. And he has to go against a bunch of different major bosses. But I feel like that could be transformed into a pretty good story as just the idea of escaping from hell, essentially.
Yeah.
You escape from the underworld, you escape from the afterlife to try and be free from the bonds and the grasp that your father has on you, and kind of like the idea of finding out more about yourself, because that's what the game is about.
Yeah.
He finds out a lot more about his past and his roots as he slowly escapes each level of the underworld. And I would love to see an animated series about that, because whether it's an animated series or a movie, because the art of that game, if it was made by but either the same gaming company or a similar artist, I would love that. That game is so beautiful, and the story behind each of the characters, to me, I really liked. And it would be a high action, high interest show, especially because a lot of people are really loving Hades right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how long that'll last, but even right now, fan art, clips, people like shipping different characters with each other, and people want to see more of that creation of bonds between the characters, as well as Zagreus becoming his own person. I would really love to see a movie or an animated series about that.
Have you seen Blood of Zeus, by the way?
Yes, I have seen Blood of Zeus. I have. Oh man, that show, I love it.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I have a couple of gripes with it, but that's besides the point. But that's just the general portrayal of Greek gods in general.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. I think overall, Blood of Zeus is a great series, and I would highly recommend it to a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like a Hades thing it'd be along that lines, but like a more personal story. Cuz like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the problem with Blood of Zeus is it's not great. It's not easy to connect with the main character at times because it feels like
Yeah.
he is just it's a kind of a typical anointed overcomes an obstacle becomes the hero type of tale
Yeah.
instead of Hades the game, which I haven't played personally, but I paid attention to enough to know that that's more like him overcoming the trials and tribulations that are he's not just rising up to become the hero of the world, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's I feel like that's where the Blood of Zeus I wish would have been a little bit different, but I overall as like just pure entertainment, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, as pure entertainment, I really enjoy Blood of Zeus. But like you said, when you kind of get down into it, it is pretty cliche in the sense of like he's rising up, he's trying to be the hero. But there's a lot of shows like that. But
Yeah.
if you're just watching for the action and kind of for for fun, I really liked it.
Yeah.
But with Hades, you can definitely do a lot of good character development right
Yeah.
there
I feel like
because
Hades would definitely be a deeper show, just like it's a deeper
yeah,
game, you know?
for sure. But yeah, and then I think for my last pick, maybe something in the Apex Legends Titanfall 2 realm of things. I personally didn't play a lot of Titanfall 2, but I do play a lot of Apex, and there's a lot of really good lore. And recently, they've been coming out with the comics and the storylines
Yep.
behind all of the different characters. I would love to see their lives prior to, um, prior to the Apex Legends tournaments. So, like
That
one of my favorite. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was actually gonna be my second one. Um because I feel like Apex could be like a adventure of the week type of cartoon or TV show where each week it follows a different character or set of characters on like
Yes.
whatever they even if it's like uh what they do like their adventures in between the tournaments or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, you know, or exactly what it follows in the comics that they've been coming out with. That was the one of the first things on my mind. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, dude. So just reading through the lore and even just watching a little bit of their cinematics that they put out,
Yeah,
it gets you so invested in these characters that I want to know more about their lives.
yeah,
Like I want to know what they do outside of the Apex Legends tournaments, and I want to know what their life was prior to the games because like Mirage, who I main, he's like one of my favorite characters. He is such a goofball, and I want to see his interactions with the different characters. But for example, Wraith, she has such an interesting backstory, and I'm not sure if you saw her cinematic.
yeah,
Um, but her escape from the mental facility that she was trapped in, watching that cinematic made me want to see more. And like I want to see how she survived outside of the mental facility, and how she kind of dealt with her identity after leaving, knowing that she is a wraith and she's like a rift walker.
yeah.
You know,
There's so
I
much
want to, yeah.
there's so much they could do. I'm a Gibraltar main, but I like Revenant obviously would be else. There's so much there. And
Mm-hmm.
Loba, like imagine Loba Khan's one of the other characters and they're helping her steal some stuff.
Yeah.
It's just different stuff like that I feel like would be really, really cool. And uh there's so much potential there, and that's yeah, that would have been mine too. That's funny that we'd kind of be on such the same page with regards to that.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, they kind of just set it up for it, you know? A lot of these really great games are providing a good setup for future um to branch out in the future
Yeah,
if they decide to go that route. Similar to League of Legends where they left a lot of really good lore and now they're able to come up with not just new games, but also an animated series, you know,
Yeah.
made by the same company. You come out with an animated series based on the so this one that they're coming out with is going to be based off of the childhood of two of the major characters in League of Legends
Yeah.
and the world that they grew up in. And that's what I really want to see from different games and different shows or movies based off of games. Not some, I don't know, you've probably saw the Dragon Ball Z movie, right? The live
Yeah.
action. Like, what the heck was that? What was that?
I don't know.
I don't want to see that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so hopefully in the future, whether it be more cinematics or longer cinematics or actual series or movies, I would love to see stronger, more community focused movies and shows.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
And I don't think that asking for a producer to not make such major changes
Yeah.
to a story is that much to ask. But
You have to tell a little bit of a different story across the different mediums, but you can keep the characters with the same feel, the general over the whole world feel the same, you know, even if the actual some of the story has to be told in a little bit different way.
Yeah.
There's so many. I mean, I just looked through some of my the games, and I'm like, a God of War live action movie
Oh
would be
yes, that would be so
amazing.
good.
You'd have something like a Fallout TV show, so I don't know if you ever saw the 100, but something like that with a little bit better budget and like just like doesn't completely jump the shark, because ultimately that's what happened. And then my third pick was actually going to be a Game of Thrones type of Dragon Age series, because I feel like as a Dragon Age fan, I feel like it's just it's a perfect fit. It'd be awesome. So, and there's so much, again, if you go through a Dragon Age or Elder Scrolls or something like that game, there's so much lore that you'll never experience because there's so much. It's insane. Just like Destiny with the Grimoire and stuff. Like, there's just too much there, and it's almost impossible to get through all of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that applies to pretty much any game that has an extensive lore background.
Yep.
But man, maybe like a Last of Us movie or something based off of that.
I think
But
they're coming out with The Last of Us. I know for sure Borderlands is getting something. We got the new Mortal Kombat movie. We're getting there's something else that we're getting that I don't remember now that was announced. But I think The Last of Us is getting some kind of, I don't
spin-off
remember.
series maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I thought if maybe it was just a rumor and not confirmation, but there's so much potential.
Uncharted.
Uncharted is coming out. That's
the one.
That's going to be interesting. That's going to be with Spider-Man himself. So Tom Holland will be in that one.
I'm so excited.
I know a lot of people kind of were looking down, but I think they're all thinking of older, grizzly,
Drake.
Yeah, Nathan Drake, and that's not when it's set. So those stories have been told. That's the other thing. I feel like too often the movies want to retell the same stories that happened in the games, or the shows want to retell the same stories instead of finding like a different period that they can that fans aren't so invested in that they're gonna pick it apart completely.
Yeah. So I know, like we were saying, all of the different games that we picked, besides maybe like Hades, which I had mentioned, all of the games that we picked, we wanted to see more of the backstories or like the different adventures that these people are having outside of the game itself. That that everyone is able to play and kind of see. We don't need a retelling of the story or of the game, but to expand on a game is a completely different thing.
Yeah. Well, what about flipping the script a little bit? And would there be an anime that you watch that you would love to play a game of, or would fit a game? Because I know Naruto has some games, but they're mostly like fighting games. Same thing with Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z did come out with a Kakarot game, which is just like a a story based game, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine, but nothing spectacular. I just feel like there's probably potential there for an anime to be a really like after playing Genshin Impact so much, I'm like there's room for anime style games with zany characters and all this stuff like
Yeah.
but probably more just strictly story based game instead of like a
Mm-hmm.
gotcha open world game like that, you know.
Yeah, so actually speaking about Genshin Impact, I think Genshin Impact is originally based off of like a webtoon or something like that. I could be wrong. So making that into an anime would actually be pretty cool. But one
Oh,
anime
I
that
love those
go ahead.
characters and I was just gonna say I love the characters in Genshin. Like they're all very different and they just
Yes.
all feel great. If that was a show, I would watch it 100%.
And it's so funny because I don't play Genshin Impact myself, but I watch you play Genshin Impact and I'm always there for like your wishes and your pulls and I'm
Yeah,
super hyped about those. But I would love to see an animated series of Genshin Impact because of the fact that like you said the characters are so different, but the dialogue that they have and like the interactions that they have with each other, if I could see that animated, I would it would be really funny first
yeah,
of all, but also there's a lot more that could be told, and they could expand a little bit more
yeah,
in that
100%.
world and yeah. But I think some animes that I would love to see as a game, Overlord for me would be a really big pick. So Overlord is another isekai where the main character was a normal human in the normal world where he gets transported into his favorite game, and he is he gets transported into the game as his character that he had played in the game. So he's super overpowered because he's like one of the top players, one of the top clans that was in that game. And I know they have like similar like gotcha games of Overlord, but um I would love to see that as a game in terms of creating a character, maybe like as an MMORPG. But then again, I'm always looking for my perfect MMO.
Oh my god, yes.
Um, and I don't know. There's so many animes out there that maybe No Game No Life is another anime that I could see being a game because it's already based off of a game.
Yeah.
I'm not. Are you familiar with No Game No Life?
Yeah, a little bit, not too much, but I've heard of it and I've read a little bit about it. I tend to, when I see things, I tend to read a little bit just so I get familiar with
Mm-hmm.
them because if I ever do jump into it, I don't like I want to be blind, but I also want to have like an overview, so I don't like. I've jumped into some things and I've just been like, this is not for me. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So like, you don't want to kind of like waste your time in a sense
correct.
watching or like involving yourself in something you already like. For Overlord, like I had been saying earlier, I feel like there would be a lot of action and fighting because there's a bunch of different races, and if you could create your own character and kind of do an open world in that sense, that would be really fun.
Yeah,
Because Overlord, there's different classes. There's the mages, hunters, um, swordsmen, things like that. You could make a great MMORPG out of that game. That because it's based off of a light novel. It's like 14 volumes long, and it is super in depth. There's a lot that you could pull from the books and from the anime and from the manga, where you could create a really, really in depth world that I would love to go and adventure personally. Just based off of watching the anime and how they created the environment, I would love to go and see, you know, get to know the characters, but based off of your own decisions and things like that.
yeah,
But with No Game No Life, it's kind of like for me, I could see it maybe like as a multiplayer game where, again, for me, MMORPGs are my thing that I like to play in my free time. If you were playing like a game like No Game No Life, you go in and instead of doing trades and battles, you have to play other separate games because that's how the anime works. In No Game No Life, everything is done through games, whether it's like games of chess or tic tac toe or even rock paper scissors. Everything is like decided based off of that. But I'm biased. I really liked that show in general,
Yeah.
so
No, I feel like there's a lot of potential there, and there's a lot of games um, that can cross into other mediums. There's a lot of shows that could cross into games, and I think there's untapped potential there that people just don't. These companies just take over, and they want to put their own vision on them instead of
hmm
working close enough with the original creators and those who actually came up with this world and built this whole thing. And I think there's a lot of potential there. But talking about MMOs, we've discussed this quite a bit. We're very social gamers, right? We like to play
yes.
what I'll play anything my friends are playing just about, and I'll probably
hmm
enjoy it even if I'm not great at it or it's not normally my typical type of game.
Yeah.
I know you're very much like that. What are the games that you'll play that you would never play solo, but you love playing with friends, or at least you'll play them a lot with friends?
Oh man. Okay, so for me, Rainbow Six Siege is a game that I would never play alone. For sure. I never play that game alone. But the only reason why I started playing it is because of my friends. I know, like for me, I didn't want to play CS:GO when it came out and when it was like, really big, and it's still big. But I'm not the type of person to go out of my way to play a strategic shooter like that. Similar to like Rogue Company and things like that. I would never go out of my way to play those games alone, simply because of the fact that I get so tilted playing those games. Um,
Yeah.
but playing with friends, I always had a great time playing Rainbow. Rainbow Six was one of the games that I played for a long time with my friends until they kind of like fell off and stopped playing, which is the same reason why I also stopped playing.
Yeah.
Um, but I never expected myself to enjoy it that much. But I really loved it, and I'm glad I played it with my friends. But I would never ever play that game alone ever again.
I am
Terrible, terrible time.
actively bad at that game, and I've only played it a few times. Like I like literally, I think 2 times I've sat down and played it, and I was just terrible. But I'm with you on that. That's definitely there's a lot of games that I just can't get into without like Warzone, for example, is a
hmm
game I play a ton of. But when I play
Yeah.
solo, mostly because I don't really care for the solo and duos modes, because I feel like people
hmm
play just different. Instead of going into
Yes.
gunfights and being aggressive, I feel like solo players just want to sit in a roof the whole time and just
They are
just
so
hold it.
sneaky for
Yeah,
no reason.
and I'm like, okay, are we playing a stealth game or are we playing a shooter? But they all
It's
want
like
to
if
play.
you want to play that, yeah.
Yeah, they all play shooters, so I feel that for sure. There's a lot of games like that that I feel like I just won't play unless like I played Bloodborne, and those very difficult Dark Souls like games I'm not good at. So I'm like either
They're
my
gonna make you
friends
cry.
are going to come carry me or I'm not playing this game, and that's just the bottom line.
Literally. Yeah,
So
so speaking of Bloodborne, yeah, Bloodborne Dark Souls games, I'm not good at them either. And I tried, gaming alone, playing those games. I tried streaming it because a couple of my friends were like, "You should play this game." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't want to go in and just get my ass carried through everything like that." But I tried to sit down and play. My lord, I wanted to sit and cry. I would not play those games alone. But when I have my friends jump in and kind of play with me, I always have a really good time.
yeah,
But I think it's just mostly because of the fact that they can roast me and I can laugh about it.
yeah,
And I don't have to sit there and cry about it instead?
yeah,
Um,
100%. I will only play that game as like some kind of charity or
yes.
channel incentive because it makes me want to drink a lot.
Yeah. Yes, dude. I love, don't get me wrong, I love to watch people play those
Yeah.
games. But to play it myself? is a whole different story. I'm just bad at dodging. I'm really bad at reading people's or like the characters' moves, and I just really can't do it. But in terms of like social games, like Destiny 2, I actually didn't play the first Destiny, and a lot of people don't know that, but I was actually pulled into Destiny 2 through a couple of my friends. And now it's one of the games I really enjoy playing with people and raiding with people and kind of grinding the games when I get the chance to. But I grind a lot of games all at the same time, so I don't give it as much attention as I feel like I could, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a day one Destiny player, D1.
Mm,
I've played that game,
mm-hmm.
but that's why I don't feel like I have to grind that game so much. Because the nice thing is, I feel like I can pick it up at any point and still be fine. Like I'll play,
Mm-hmm.
like even the beginning of this season, for the new raid. Everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna have to grind and get raid ready," and it took me a day and a half maybe to get up and play through the campaign stuff and get to the right power level. And I just feel like I love that game when I'm playing with friends. I can play it solo. That's one of the games that I can actually vibe when I'm playing PvP in that game and play by myself just because I feel like I don't have to rely on other people. Whereas Call
Mm-hmm.
of Duty multiplayer, I don't want to play that unless I'm with a group and I'm talking trash and we are roasting each other and quick scoping and doing shenanigans. I'm very much a fan of
Yeah.
just doing not like I don't want to just sweat. I want to have fun and do some crazy stuff. But I feel that 100%. I think what's I know you were talking about Final Fantasy 14. That's a big one. Are there other
Mm-hmm.
MMOs you played a lot with solo, or do you mostly play those in groups as well?
So actually, my friend pulled me into Final Fantasy 14 in terms of MMOs that I've played. But like he and their clan or their grand company, their free company is so high level. I can't really join them in any of the stuff that they do. So I actually ended up playing that game more solo than I was playing with a group.
Yeah,
And I really like playing solo, to be honest. There's a lot of things that you can do on your own, and even just queuing up and doing some of the different activities. I feel like you can do a lot on your own, and I'm a crafter and gatherer. Shoot me for having that opinion. But a lot of people don't like doing stuff like that. But I do because it passes the time and it's something that I enjoy
yeah,
to like mindlessly relax and do nothing except collect these materials and go make something nice for myself. Collect these materials and make my house look fancy.
yeah,
Those are the things that I like to do on my own. But in terms of games, MMOs that I've really played with groups, I've never really had a really big guild
yeah,
or group of friends in any MMO that I play, which makes me kind of sad because there's a couple of different activities that I really want to do with people because you need a good group of people to play them. Like similar to Final Fantasy, I played a lot of Neverwinter. I played Neverwinter for a good amount of time. But some of the dungeons in that game, you have to have a good group with you, and a lot of the random people who play them don't know what the heck they're doing. So
yeah,
you'll never finish the dungeon.
yeah.
Um,
That's how I felt too. I played Final Fantasy 14 and I got ahead of the people that I was playing with, and then they ended up falling off. And so I kind
mm-hmm,
of fell off as well. And the same thing happened in Elder Scrolls Online. I just wanted, if I could find a dedicated group for any of those, whatever the game would be, if I could find a
mm-hmm,
dedicated group, I feel like I would grind them out and really enjoy the end game because I love end game content, and that's really where I like Destiny raids made me fall in love with that type of stuff.
yes.
And so not having consistent groups to do those kind of things is probably my biggest frustration in gaming. Cause like I said, I don't feel like personally it takes that long, like or is that difficult to get to end game in a lot of these different things, but that's
Mm-hmm.
really where I want to live. When I played ESO, a lot of the people were like, "Oh, don't worry about end game, just take your time and do the questing and stuff." I'm like, that stuff is cool. There's a lot of lore here. I love the Elder Scrolls series in general, but I want to play some dungeons. I want to do some like
For real.
crazy things. You know what I'm saying? I want to make a
No.
top tier build that I can like go crazy with, and that's what I miss, and what I would, if I could get an MMO like that on, because I play on console. If I could get an MMO like that on console, where I could get a solid group I could run with, you
Mm-hmm.
you'd probably see me play it a lot. Like that's one of the things I like about Genshin though, is that I could do
Mm-hmm.
all the end stuff solo, so I can make my builds. I can get my team built out correctly. I can have all these characters that are the right level and stuff. So that's nice
Yeah.
there, but like I do wish I could have like a full dedicated um, MMO with a crew to run, because I feel like I would never leave it. You know?
Yeah. So like with Final Fantasy, I felt the same. Like my friends were like, just play through the story and don't worry about endgame content. I was like, no, I want to raid. I want to do these endgame content. So I kind of grinded really hard to get to. This is not like fully endgame content, but it's more difficult content that you would
Sure.
be better off doing with like a group of friends.
Yep.
It was called Shiva Extreme, and for me, I really wanted to do that, but it took me like 20 minutes first of all to queue up and like get randoms to play with me. To
Okay.
queue up and like wait for 20 minutes, that sucked.
Yep.
And half the people who were doing it didn't know what they were doing because they weren't prepared. Weren't like high enough gear level, and it they didn't communicate either, and they wouldn't listen to you. So I really like to do a lot of the end game content, and like you were saying with the Destiny raids, I love to do Destiny raids. Even though I've only done like 4 in all of the time that Destiny 2 has been out. I didn't do the Leviathan raid until a year and a half after it came after Destiny 2 dropped. And that to me, like my friends who originally got me into the game stopped playing after Curse of Osiris because Curse of Osiris.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when when Forsaken came out, I jumped back into the game, and they were like, "Well, that last DLC was some trash, and I don't want to. I don't want to play Warmind, and I don't want to play Forsaken." And I was like, "Dude, you're missing out on a lot of really fun stuff." And they were always telling me, "Oh, I want to do this raid," but they would never grind or play the game to get to the point where we could raid.
Yeah.
So I ended up not doing it, and I really wanted to. Like Sebastian and I, we love to raid and we love to do stuff like that. So we've recently found a good group to do Destiny raids, and no, it's not like consistent, and sometimes we kind of have to split it up between days, but we're getting it done. Like we
Yeah.
just finished the second encounter of the Deepstone Crypt, and that was hectic, but it was probably the most fun that I've had in Destiny with friends.
Yeah. So as a day one player, the raids have always been super special to me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Last Wish is one of the best, I think, in either game. Uh, Deep Stone
Mm-hmm.
Crypt, I think, is really good. The atmosphere is crazy, right? When you're in Deep
Yeah.
Stone Crypt, some of the different encounters are nuts. I won't kind of like you've gone through. You said you're on the boss now, right? The final boss.
So we just did the jumping puzzle, and we're about to start the third encounter,
Okay.
going into the, yeah, so third encounter to the final
So
is where
going
we're at.
into space is like
Yes.
the coolest things I think in that has ever been in that game. But in general, yeah, the hardest part for me about the raids has always been finding people. I've always been like I have week one clears of multiple raids, um,
Mm-hmm.
but then I end up I just because of I'm excited for crossplay, because I know a lot of people on
Yes.
PC who don't who I can't raid with anymore, who made their switch. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm a pretty solid raider, and I just raid like 5 times whenever a new raid comes out, and then I don't end up finding other people to raid with, and that makes it somewhat difficult. So I'm with you on that. If I could finding a crew, whether it's Destiny, whether it's I would play a game like Diablo, for example. When
Oh
Diablo 4
yeah.
comes out, if I have a crew to play it, I'll probably play it a ton. If I don't have a crew, I'll probably play it until I'm over playing it solo, and then move on to something else. But I
Yeah,
feel like social gaming is the way to go for me personally, almost all the time.
yeah, I would agree with that. The only time I really see myself doing solo gaming is when I'm like so dead tired after work or,
Yeah,
I had a long day. That's the only time, like, for me, when I play solo games, I'll play multiplayer in COD because I just like to shoot stuff.
yeah,
I just want to shoot stuff and I want to quick scope some people and I want to get some like fun plays in when I can. And I won't play like search and destroy, but I'll straight up just play like domination, team
sure.
deathmatch, and stuff like that. But I prefer watching people play solo games, like watching my husband play like Hellblade or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, just story games in general. I prefer to watch people play those games. Or like watch people play solo games. Like if you're running around in Genshin playing solo, I
Yeah,
like to watch that too. But I won't do it myself. The only like solo game I see myself doing is like Final Fantasy. But social gaming is for me is where it's at because first of all, I'm a gamer, so most of my friends are online anyway. So that's the only like time I get to talk to my friends
yep,
most of the time. Especially now with quarantine and with COVID, I don't see all of my friends outside of like where I was friends with the people at my university and things like that. I don't see them anymore. So the only time I get to spend time with them is through social gaming. And that's my big thing. Like I have friends all over the world now. And being able to do that is only through social gaming.
yeah.
I can't I can't do that solo.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. It's the best part about being a social gamer is right now, like, I still feel connected with a lot of my friends who I can't see. I still feel I made a lot new friends in the pandemic who
Mhm.
started being able to game more and get on because of whether they're working from home or whatever the case may be. So it's been, I mean, that's been one of the few blessings, but I'm with you 1,000%. Social gaming is that's what I love. That's what I wish. I mean, there's so many games that I would play through if I could
Mhm.
play drop in, drop out co-op or have features to have multiplayer. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Yeah.
would play them with friends, and I'd be like, okay, I'll enjoy the story. I'll yell at Ben or somebody for talking while a cutscene is happening or something. But other than that, I would it would be a great time. So I think, uh, yeah, I'm hopeful that in 2021 I can find some more MMOs and those type of games that I can sink my teeth into with either old friends, new friends, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the search for my perfect MMO for God knows how long. I started off playing like RuneScape in 2007. I don't know if you really count that as an MMORPG. I do. I just like to do things where I can just sit, kind of idly do things and not have to think too hard. But I also like to be able to get into kind of more difficult content as
Yeah,
time goes on. And having a decently regular group would make my experience playing MMOs a lot more fun. Trying to convince my friends to play certain MMOs, especially with games that have a subscription. Final
yeah,
Fantasy has that subscription, and if you're not the type of person to constantly grind it and like continuously grind it no matter what, um, people don't want to pay the subscription, and that's fine. Like I completely understand that.
yeah. No,
Um,
it's definitely difficult. So
yeah, and a lot of the free MMOs don't provide the same level of content and difficulty as these like World of Warcraft or like Final Fantasy as the two biggest MMORPGs.
no, it's very true, and it's unfortunate because it's nice because they can provide that content, and everyone paying the subscription is going to be a dedicated player. That's one of the things that I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when Destiny gets its feedback, people want it to be more like those MMOs, but they don't want it to be subscription based, and you can't. It's almost impossible to have it both ways. So
Yeah,
I feel like that's the hard part, and the straddling that line for games is very very difficult.
yeah. I mean, I gotta give it to the game producers. They most of the time they're putting in a lot of thought and trying to figure out what's best for the community, but it's hard, and a lot of people poop on a lot of the companies for going one way or another, but you can't make everybody happy, and you can't continue to make really good um, content without picking, whether you're going to pay for an expansion pack or pay for a subscription and have continuous, output of paid content. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No,
Really like
that's exactly it. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I mean, that's about it. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about before we take off here, or is there anything else you wanted to mention? Or
I mean, no, just thank you so much for having me on and letting me get to know your thoughts like behind the gaming.
yeah,
I always enjoy watching your streams and hang out in your streams and roasting you, but being able to sit down and actually talk with you and get to know more about how you think about a lot of these different topics has been really great. I really enjoyed my
yeah.
time.
No, it was my pleasure. Let everybody know where they can find you again on Twitter, socials, Twitch, all that kind of good stuff.
Feel free to check me out on Twitter and Twitch at KageNoTsuma, which is KageNoTsuma. It's Kage and not Cage.
All right, Cage. Oh, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you, and it was a lot of fun. I am very glad you were able to make it on, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I feel like it was a good, kind of wide-ranging variety of topics, which was awesome. I love going outside of my normal comfort zone. Like I said, I'm not a hardcore anime person, but it's so fascinating to me, and listening to you talk about something you're so passionate about was awesome. I appreciate you being on. Thank you everyone for tuning in, listening on your platform of choice. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. Make sure you're hitting those heart buttons because it really does help me out, allows me to put out more content, so I am very appreciative of that. But thank you all for tuning in, and I will catch you all later.